right. Thank you, Tim, and welcome.
Thank you.
Great to see you all the way from Fairfield, Iowa. And hello, everybody out there in internet land. This is another installment of Irish Night at Blue virtual live stream series, whatever we're calling it these days. A continuation of our once live and in person series of live Irish music that was weekly for the last just about 15 years, coming up on our 15th anniversary. Um, and unfortunately moved to online due to recent events, but we're making the best of it. And as I said recently elsewhere, this is a really nice perk for the pandemic is to be able to get people that would be difficult to get in person live in the room. Tim's in Iowa and sometimes comes to the East Coast, but usually has better gigs than Blue. So it'd be difficult to wrangle him up there, but we're very glad to have him now as part of this series. Welcome, Tim. Good to
Thank
see
you.
you.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here. And about better gigs, but I don't often get up to Maine. I haven't gone up to Maine in a very long time, way too long. And I need to get back up there as soon as we're,
We'll correct that.
copacetic. Yeah,
We're allowed to be in person together. If you, whenever you want, let me know. And
I will do
if
that.
this series goes on past the new year, we'll definitely have you back anytime.
Cool.
Very excited for tonight. On a personal note, we've had a great run of fiddlers lately. Now we're on to more my personal tastes, but I love the fiddle, of course. But
Of course.
Tim was one of the guys when I started out that was well-known piper. There wasn't that many back then, more so than when he started out for sure. But Tim was definitely one of the hot pipers to watch, and somebody I'd go to great lengths to see live on several occasions at the Blarney Star in New York City, or maybe some other. I have some other places here and there. So we're very happy to finally be able to present them live here at Irish Night. I've always wanted to. You're very welcome, Mr. Britton.
Well, thanks. Yeah, it's we could talk a lot all about that. Uh,
Yeah.
I know that you were a student of Bill Ox's, and
Yep.
Bill was really a seminal person in my kind of, I don't want to say career quite, but just my career in a looser sense as a piper. And my dear old friend Rick O'Shea, who I met at the Philadelphia Ceilidh Group Irish Festival back in probably '74, maybe '73. I think it must have been '74. But anyway, somewhere in there. And he ended up taking me up to New York and meeting Bill and taking me around to all the sessions on the weekends. And it was quite an initiation into the New York Irish scene.
Yeah. Rick
People
was
like,
good for that.
oh, it was unbelievable. It was a great time. The Irish Arts Center was going strong, but in its more kind of innocent days, if that's the right word. And there was just a lot of young people getting into the scene, and also a lot of older musicians, immigrants, and such from who are no longer with us, most of them, but they were aplenty back then.
Yep. And you and
So
Bill both started off with under the tutelage of the mighty Mr. Stan Devon, correct?
yes, Tom Standevan.
Pleasure of hanging out with Tom at a Chinol
Oh, really
a
excellent.
long time
Yeah,
ago.
really unusual person and unusual player, and really an amazing repository of uh, deep knowledge about Irish music and the Irish language. Fluent speaker in all the
Yeah.
dialects, and and not an Irish, not he's from New Jersey originally.
I know he was
Um,
very good. When the first I met him, he asked me what part of Ireland my family was from, and then he told me the proper pronunciation of my first name, with dialect for that region, and told me some stories about Connemara, that area, of Connemara, that I'm sure
oh,
my grandfather didn't even know.
wow,
He
that's
was a
amazing.
yeah, he was a book. He was like an encyclopedia, and a wonderful player in his own right. I
Yeah.
remember him very fondly playing airs, like
Yes.
a whole performance of airs.
And
Very
his dance tunes were they often had the emotional intensity of airs as
Yeah.
well. He definitely imparted this sense of like a very deep well opening up in front of your feet whenever he was
Bill said all
around.
the same things about him as well. Big
Yeah,
influence. So we will
cool.
talk a little more about that period later on if you like, but for now, how about you want to give these folks some tunes?
I will do that very thing.
All right, buckle
If
in,
you,
folks, and please give a big hand and a big welcome to Mr. Tim Britton.
thank you so much. I'm imagining hordes of people out there yelling and screaming my name.
At least a
Uh,
dozen.
or not. But anyway, uh, when anybody who tuned in from the beginning there, I started off with a few jigs, old piping classics. The first is called Old Joe's Jig, that I learned from a tape, a cassette tape that was made of a live performance of Liam O'Flynn back in 1972, I think it was, at University of Pennsylvania, and really sweet playing. Liam was one of the great pipers and a very beautiful player. And so I learned that tune from that tape back in the day. And also that followed that up with Old Tipperary and then Garrett Barry's. Let's see. I think I'm going to play some hornpipes. These are a few that I really like a lot. The first is kind of a somewhat unusual version of a very, very common tune called Fisher's Hornpipe, but this one is The Fisherman's Lilt, which, again, Liam O'Flynn made famous, I guess, on one of the early Planxty records. I think it might have been on Well Below the Valley, but I don't remember offhand. Anyway, it's a beautiful version of that tune that I think is from, might be from the playing of Pádraig O'Keeffe, the great fiddle player from Sliabh Luachra. Very melodically interesting and mellifluous. And the second one is called the Paul Hay Painting. I was just playing that warming up when I first logged in with Tom here earlier. And it's an old favorite of mine, a really unusual tune. And the third one is called, what is it called? Jackie Tar. Another very, very old tune, probably maybe even an English hornpipe. Not really sure where that's from, but it's one you don't hear too often, although it's kind of an old guard tune, you might say. So anyway, here we go. Thank you so much. In case you just tuned in, that was the Fisherman's Lilt and the Paul Halfpenny and the Jackie Tarr hornpipe. A few really old style tunes. And I love ending on that E against the D drone. Nice second there. So I'm going to play some reels for you. Kind of doing this off the cuff. I didn't overly prepare. Hopefully I prepared just the right amount. This is one called, what is it called? The Holly Bush. And I think I'm going to go into tune. Another one I think I might have learned from Liam O'Flynn there. I'm not sure about that. Called, actually no, I think he just recorded it in one of the Planksty albums again, but I learned it elsewhere. But it's Jenny's Wedding, one of the many tunes named after Jenny, whoever she was. Imagining throngs of applause there. This is always a little interesting. I'm starting to get the hang of it. I've done a number of online concerts now, and I'm actually starting to relax into it for a change. It's a little vacuous experience here, but as you might imagine. But a pleasure to play for you. Thanks for showing up, whoever you are out there. Feel free to make a comment on the Zoom call. I don't know whether people are actually on the Zoom call or on the Facebook page. I don't know how that works, but maybe somebody can let me know that. Yeah, remove a piece of tape.
It's just me and you on the Zoom, Tim.
Oh, okay, cool. Thanks. So, that's better. There's a few more reels. I don't remember the name of the first one of these, and I'm pretty sure it's kind of on purpose mixing up at least two versions of this tune, and going from there into a number of other ones. The second one I don't remember the name of either, but I believe I learned it from the playing of Kathleen Collins, a great fiddle player from New York City, and the sister of Dan Collins, who was the guy who started Shawnee Records, and another fiddle player as well. The third, fourth, and fifth ones, I'm going to play 5 reels if I get them all, are the Skylark, Roaring Mary, and the Humors of Tulla. And they were played as a set with the Humors of Tulla first by the late, great accordion player Joe Cooley. So a bunch of reels coming at you. skipped over one of the tunes. I only played it once. Normally, for those of you who are unfamiliar with Irish music, there's getting a message from somebody. I don't know who. Oh, yeah. Okay. Turn my ringer off. Normally, you play a tune and repeat it at least once, or 3 or 4 or even 5 times if you're in a session before you move on to the next one. Anyway, those fun tunes, all in D, a very pipe-happy key. So I have 3 of those guys down there. If there's anybody tuning in who doesn't know what the uilleann pipes are, I'll just give you a very quick rundown. They were developed roughly about 300 years ago from an earlier bagpipe, which is very similar to the Scottish pipes. And they added a bellows to the side of it here, so I'm using relatively dry air rather than moist breath, which enables one to make the reeds a lot more delicately, make them quieter, and also you can overblow the reed, which is fairly unique in bagpipes. Normally you're limited to 1 octave scale, but with this one, yeah, I can sometimes get a half octave on the top there, but at least a full 2 octaves. And also, the whole idea of a bag on a bagpipe is to enable you to get a constant sound, which is all well and good, except that you can't stop it. So you have to come up with all these alternate ways of articulating the notes with grace notes. And but with this, there's a leather pad on my leg, and I can stop the end of the chanter on that. And if I do that and close the fingers down, there's no place for the sound to come out. So I can open up the fingers and put them down again and get staccato notes that way. And I still have the option of doing all the grace notes. Like that. And so on and so forth. You can also lift the chanter up to kind of vent and get some different tonalities. And I've got some drones here under my my right arm. I can't. Am I doing this right? Yeah, I think I'm. I think it's not reversed. Sometimes it's reversed. And if I use photo booth, it reverses it, and I look like I'm a left-handed player. I think I'm going to play a slow air now. And oh, also there's these things called regulators, which at the moment the reeds are not working right. So, so I've got. Yeah, it's not really working, so I'm not going to play that tonight. But normally you'd have a kind of an organ-like sound. Something like that. Anyway. So this one is a tune called The Twisting of the Hay Rope, and it's a song. Actually, I'm not going to sing that, but I'm just going to play the instrumental version. And again, I might have gotten this from Liam O'Flynn. It just seems to be a Liam O'Flynn night tonight. The version I learned from him, he played it on the whistle, but it's a song that has kind of a funny lyric to it. The lyrics are all about a guy who is in love with a woman, and his sweetheart to be, or whatever, is one he's aspiring to make his sweetheart, lives with her parents, and he goes knocking, and Irish people, being polite to a fault, they have a hard time telling you to saying no, basically. So not as a rule, of course, but in certain circles, it's kind of considered impolite to be direct in this way. So, so what they did, instead of telling him to bugger off, they got him to help them in the task of making a hay rope. And what you do when you make a hay rope is you take some hay and you bend it over a stick, and you start turning the stick, and as you turn the stick, it twists the hay, and you add more and more hay into it, just the way you spin yarn, but on a larger scale. And whoever's twisting the stick has to keep moving backwards as the person who's adding the hay adds more and more, and the rope gets longer and longer. So they enlisted his help in doing this, and as the rope got longer and longer, he eventually had to step out the front door, and once he cleared the door to make room for the growing length of rope, they shut the door and let that speak for them. So anyway, it's called Kasan Sugan, or the twisting of the hay rope, and I think I'll go into a tune called The Geese in the Bog after that, if I'm remembering correctly, which there's a good chance I'm not, but anyway, getting a little lazy about the names these days. Was not going to end well. All right. Yes, sir.
Be off guard. You were going for another one there.
Not at all. How are we doing?
Good. I figured it went a little longer than halftime tonight because we were a little chatty in the beginning, so
Okay.
we'll get some tunes in. But sounds fantastic, man. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Got a few folks online. Hopefully, some more will watch it afterwards as well.
Hmm.
Yeah, one of the things I really like about your playing has always been how deep you get into the tunes, and it seems very effortless, but
Thank you.
just goes down that rabbit hole of I don't even call them variations, really more like just phrasing choices and stuff.
Hmm.
But
Thank you.
you can always tell it's you when I hear you playing pretty instantly. One of the things I was going to ask you about, we alluded to earlier, is back when you were kind of coming up as a young lad, learning from Mr. Standevan and others, and starting to make a name for yourself. There was very few pipers in the country, and very few pipers really in Ireland as well, and very few pipe makers.
Yeah.
Talking about the late '70s, mid '70s, right,
Right.
into the '80s. It was a pretty dry time, and there was only a handful of people really playing them and making them and passing on the tradition.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. Do you have any perspective on that, or
Yeah. Well, first of all, we're talking early '70s when
yeah,
that description kind of is more apt at that point, because
I didn't want to date you.
that's okay. Um, well, what happened was in 1968, things were really dire in terms of number of pipers. Kind of like what you're saying to the extreme. I mean, there might have been a dozen people playing in Ireland, maybe 2 dozen, and I think there was three makers alive at the time who were making pipes, and there was probably a dozen people in the United States and maybe a few more scattered around the globe. But it was, pretty serious. They were looking at the possibility of this dying out, and this was before the big upsurge in interest in Irish music, which happened just, coincidentally a few years later.
Playing
But
Steve.
right, exactly. People like Plank Steve, the Bothy Band, the Chieftains kind of got that rolling, and prior to that, the Clancy brothers, sort of primed the pump a bit a decade earlier, and when they were instrumental actually, and even though they're a vocal group, they were instrumental in sorry, in instigating the folk revival really, and showing that folk music could be commercial and commercially successful, in other words. And so it kind of slowly built, and then at a certain point, with the advent of Planksty and the Bothy Band particularly, and the Boys of Loch was kind of coming online at that point too, early to mid '70s. It just kind of exploded, and also Cultus, Celtic, and
Mm-hmm.
the Cultural Society was really they were doing uh, organizing tours of traditional musicians who were not otherwise professional, but nonetheless very very good, and so it's quite a time. And all of a sudden, everything changed in the space of 5 years, and a lot of people were taking it up. A lot of people were hearing about them, and more and more people were learning to make them. um, and I was among them. At the time when I started, I got my first practice set from Dan O'Dowd, and paid $75 for it. I learned to make pipes, as I think I mentioned just now, and the reason why is because they couldn't get them.
Yeah.
So I wanted to have drones, to flesh out my set, and I was hanging out with a guy named Michael Copeland, who's become quite well known as a flute maker and whistle maker ever since. But I kind of got him more involved in Irish music, and he got me involved in instrument making. And between the two of us, we made this set of drones that I'm playing. And so that was the first thing I ever made, was this little drone here,
Guess they
and
lasted.
it still has the original reed in it, and from 1975, I think, maybe early '76. So, um, uh, and I made the second drone, not long after that, and eventually I played a 2 drone set for a couple of years, and then I made the bass drone in my high school wood shop as a project, and went on from there. By the time I graduated from high school, I was making pipes to order for customers, and was
Never
one
look
of the
back.
by that time there was several other makers, and it just kept building and building, and of course more and more people playing them, and then when Riverdance hit, had kind of reached a peak because, of course, that just exploded everywhere in the world, and I was getting calls from people almost every week. I'd get a call from somebody inquiring about, ordering a set of pipes, if you can imagine that. I didn't, necessarily fulfill all those orders, but there was that many people who were like, I want to, that guy in Riverdale, I want to be able to do that. You also got people who had been wanting to do it for years and finally were getting around to it because they were being kind of reminded of their desire. Maybe people from Ireland who had grown up with the music and had forgotten about it, and but had on the back burner this idea that they would play pipes someday. So it was, an interesting time, and I came into it I just caught that wave like a master surfer and just rode it into shore. Was very, very lucky, and Mick Maloney moved to Philadelphia just at that point and started promoting Irish music and taking musicians, including myself, and also the older immigrant musicians, and recording them. By the time I was 20, I was, I think, on 3 different anthologies of Irish musicians in America that Mick had done.
Yeah, Mick was great for all of that. Rounding up all the kids and getting them to play for free. Man.
Yeah. Or not. No, he actually paid. He was very, very fair all the way along. He kind of made a big point of that, and he still is that way. He's very an amazing guy with a lot of integrity and a great musician and a great visionary. And of course, he teaches at NYU now, although he's probably doing it online at the moment. He lives part-time in Thailand and still tours with Greenfields of America, and occasionally I'll sit in with them, maybe once or twice a year. I end up doing something with those guys again, and many of the best Irish musicians in the country have been funneled through that group over the decades.
And of course, one of your old contemporaries from that period of when there wasn't much going on, from the 70s in Philadelphia, is online tonight. I think I saw Mr. Tom Wilsbach make an appearance online, uncharacteristically. He normally pretty incognito, I think, but just to show you can teach an old librarian how to use YouTube. Tom also is a proud owner of one of your, I think, earlier sets of pipes.
That's right. A set of drones. I can't remember whether he has...
Up until the pandemic hit, so I was playing weekly with Tom for many years at one of the local sessions on Sundays here in town, and he's still at it. He plays a lot of whistle these days, but still plays the pipes a good bit and sounds great. He's got himself a Rouse chanter that he uses, but
cool.
He still plays your drones and regs.
Excellent. Cool.
So, without further ado, then, you want to get back to some more music?
I shall. Let's see. And I'm in danger of going overtime. I hope that's all right.
Quickly. Yeah, go a little longer if you like. We're in
I'll just...
to the folks out there, I did put the link for Tim's PayPal into the comments on both YouTube and Facebook. So please visit that and be generous. Just remember, these guys, it's a hard time making a living out there for Irish musicians right now. So we're doing this mostly for them, to help them get through. Also for you, to help you get through, to bring you some live Irish music in any way we can, which is this way for now. And also put a link in a little later for Blue, the venue. They could use your support as well. If you have a little bit extra, definitely make Tim your main donation. But if you have a little bit extra, you could help out Blue and Irish Night. We would appreciate it greatly as well. Keep things rolling so we can all get back together in person someday and invite Tim back to play. And in the meantime, everybody be nice to each other out there. That's all I ask. Nice to be cool, and we'll all get. It's all right. Next month's going to be a hard one to stay nice during, so let's all gear up now and get our skin thick for that. All right, Tim, take it away.
Lots of skin lotion. I mentioned Michael Copeland a few minutes ago. Wonderful whistle maker and flute maker and dear old friend of mine, and I've got one of his old whistles here, and going to play it. Let's see. Um, what shall I do? I think I'm going to play another air. And I'll go into a tune that I composed a long, long time ago called The Real Jig. And I remember Mick, I mentioned Mick a few minutes ago also. Mick really liked this tune when he heard me play it first back in the 70s, late 70s. And he would ask me to play the queer one. This is, I think I'm going to play the on Pushchin Fune, the fair-haired boy. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to play another one that is very unusual, and it's one I got from Tom Standevan. We were talking about him earlier, and this is a tune called Guibara na Dan, which Guibara is a place in Donegal. And it's on the coast there, up in the northwest corner of Ireland, and a very remote little place. And basically, it's kind of like a love song for the place. And in the lyrics of the song, he's talking about, you know, all the little things that he loves about it, and how when he dies, he wants to be able to fly over Guibara and view the, you know, all these places that he spent his life in. So it's kind of a short little tune, but I'll go into that, the queer one, the real jig after that. Let's see. Thank you. My cat has joined us, sitting here drinking out of my my teacup. I guess I'll wash that before I use it again. Well, I will, let's see, maybe play another tune on the whistle while I'm at it. A few reels. Let's see. These are three tunes I used to play with Pat Egan when I was playing with Cool Rua with Patty O'Brien. And it's a few tunes that I learned from a guy named Mike Kirkpatrick, who very sadly just passed away from brain cancer like a few weeks ago. Lived in Chicago for a long time and played guitar and flute and was part of a group called the Drovers. And at the time that I first met him, he was going out with a woman who was a very serious modern dancer named Mary, blanking on her name. But anyway, she was part of the Chicago Moving Company, and Mike put some traditional Irish music together for a piece that she, a dance piece that she choreographed and performed up there, and we recorded this as well as playing it live for a performance up in Chicago. Back, this was, I don't know, 30 years ago or something. But had the pleasure of meeting up with Mike about a year ago. But he was very ill, but was trying to get a recording done of some original music of his, and did some studio recording for him at the time. So this goes out to Mike Kirkpatrick, wherever you are now. Hope you're well. And three reels, McGovern's. The last one's the something for the four-leaf clover, maybe something like that. Anyway, I'm starting to let the names slip away.
Very nice.
Thank you.
So, you want to give us maybe one more?
That's what I was thinking. I'll
All right.
fire up the peepers again.
What do you guys think out there? You want to hear one more? The emojis are flying in. Take it away.
Encore. All right. Let's see. I will play a few more reels, I guess. Actually, no, I'm going to play some jigs. I noticed over the years that there's seems to be like a whole genre of old style marches that are double jigs, and they all have this really sweet kind of quality to them, and I've always counted them amongst my favorite tunes. And I'm going to try playing playing some of those. I might go on a bit here. I'm not sure which ones I'm going to do yet, but and I might wander off into some that aren't marches, but you won't know the difference. They're all jigs. So thanks again for having me, and thanks to Tom for inviting me, and thanks for showing up and listening, wherever you are in whichever time-space continuum you're currently partaking in. so much. Those were not at all the tunes I were. They were. They did do a few marches there, but they were. I kept messing up the changes because I had no idea what I was going into or how to get there. Uh,
Well,
but anyway,
anyway,
I love those tunes. I love that whole style of tune. I could play them all night.
very cool tunes and very interesting arrangements.
Thank you.
Lots of alternate routes there, which I
Yes.
really enjoy. I might have to go back to the video and spend some time with some of those.
Cool.
Great stuff, man. Remember, you can watch these, or anybody out there can watch all the old videos on the YouTube channels. The easiest, just go to Irish Knighted Blue, look it up. You can do it on Facebook, but you have to go to my name, my personal account, which I don't
Okay.
mind. But you can go snoop around in there if you want. All the videos are stored there. I can't get them stored on Irish Night because Facebook's kind of lame. But sorry, Mr. Zuckerberg, but it's true. Um, another word. Otherwise, I was going to say, come back and join us next week. We're going to be weekly through the end of the year. Next week, we have our local hero from Belfast, Maine, Mr. Chris Bryn, playing some music from Cornwall for you on his giant accordion and singing some songs, I'm sure. He is great at it. Who knows what he'll do? He'll probably do a blast or two of Irish tunes as well. Very talented guy and a really good, fun guy. He's going to be a fun Zoom night, I believe. So come back and see us then. Any other Wednesdays, remember to check the links in the comments and give a donation out to Tim. Help the poor starving musicians keep going during these tough times, and maybe help out Blue a little too if you can. If you can't, if times are tough for you too, then we're glad you're here anyway, and please come back and join us anytime. That's not a problem. Hope you like the music. Thanks, Tim, so much again for coming all the way from
Pleasure.
Iowa. Play for us.
Yeah, it was a long way through the Ethernet cable. It was quite a squeeze. Uh,
No
thank you so much
pun
for inviting me
intended.
again, and thanks for keeping the music going in general. I do a similar thing. In fact, right now there's an open mic online that is sort of under the auspices of the venue that I normally run sound at, called Cafe Paradiso here in Fairfield. So check it out. Now that we're online, you can become part of the open mic here in Fairfield. There's an old friend of mine tunes in from Newfoundland, or not Newfoundland, New Zealand. Sometimes he plays some music from there and elsewhere. So um,
Seen some of your posts from there. It looks like a
yeah,
great group of players. Some really
yeah,
nice.
it's really fun.
I
There's
love your
great
daughter's
energy.
music, by the way.
What's that?
I love your daughter's music, by the way,
Oh,
too.
thank you. Mira Britton. Yeah, she doesn't play out often enough, but you can see a few snippets of her on the internet. And she does have a first album out. We've been working on a second one for way too long, as in not working on it. She's not the most highly motivated person in the world to kind of consummate her career, but she's a wonderful singer and songwriter. And I'm really looking forward to people getting to hear this next album because it's quite different from the first one.
Great. Maybe we
Anyway,
should
thanks for
take
mentioning
it to
that.
Beyonce level. She has to squeeze an uilleann pipe cut in the middle of one of her ballads. Just for all of us. For the
Okay,
team.
I'll mention that to her. I'm not sure I'll get a positive response, but
Yeah, fair enough. All right, man. Well, we'll let these people go. Thanks again for all the great music. That was wonderful. And
pleasure.
see you again soon. Good night, everybody. We'll see you next week. And one last time, be nice to each other. All right.